All right, so we're going to be doing a deep dive today on foods that you might want to avoid if you're trying to lose weight.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes there are these like hidden culprits that can totally sabotage your efforts.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And we've got a ton of research to dig into. We're looking at 5 different sources today.
Okay.
Healthline Medical News today, very well. Health Fitter Fly, and ZOE.
Interesting.
And like, I gotta say that some of this stuff is pretty surprising, even for me, and I'm like always reading about health and nutrition.
Yeah, I think we all have those moments where we're like, wait, really?
Yeah, for sure.
I know for me, when I was reading through all these sources, I was really struck by how there's this one common culprit that all of them highlighted. And it's something that a lot of people don't even think twice about.
Okay, are you talking about like sugary drinks?
Yeah. I mean, we all know soda's bad news, but even some of those fruit juices that seem so healthy.
Right. They have that like health halo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Our brains don't actually register liquid calories in the same way as food.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's like this weird evolutionary loophole.
Okay.
You know, back in the day, finding a sugary drink was like hitting the jackpot.
Right.
It was super rare, so our bodies never really developed that stop signal for them.
So we end up just guzzling down tons of sugar without even feeling full.
Pretty much, yeah.
And then it goes straight to, you know.
Yeah, to all the places we don't want it to go.
Exactly.
And it's not just about the empty calories. Studies show that sugary drinks can mess with our hormones, too.
Really?
Yeah, especially the ones that regulate hunger and satiety.
So it's like a double whammy on our weight loss efforts.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm definitely rethinking my afternoon juice habit now.
It's worth considering.
What about processed foods and fast foods?
Oh, those are definitely on the list.
Yeah.
But I was surprised by some of the specifics that the sources dug up. Well, Medical News today highlighted a study that linked frequent fast food consumption to just like a lower quality diet overall.
Oh, wow.
And it makes sense when you think about it. These foods are often like calorie bombs, right?
Yeah.
Packed with unhealthy fats and sodium, but they lack the good stuff.
Yeah.
The fiber, the protein, the vitamins, the minerals that keep you feeling satisfied and energized.
So you're basically filling up on empty calories.
Yeah, it's like they fill you up without actually nourishing you.
Right.
So you end up craving more food sooner.
Right. And that can lead to overeating and weight gain.
Exactly. And here's where it gets even more interesting.
Okay.
Very well. Health actually delved into the impact of these foods on our gut microbiome.
The what?
Our gut microbiome.
Okay.
It's basically the trillions of bacteria that live in our gut.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And turns out a diet high in processed foods can really mess with that balance of good and bad bacteria.
And why is that a problem?
Well, it can impact everything from digestion to immunity and even our mood.
Wait, hold on. You're saying that what I eat can affect my mood?
Absolutely.
Really?
Think about it. Your gut is often called your second brain.
Okay.
Because it's constantly communicating with your nervous system. And when your gut is out of whack, it can trigger inflammation.
Okay.
And affect the production of neurotransmitters, which can then impact your mood, your sleep, even your cravings.
Wow, that's like a serious domino effect. I never realized the connection between processed foods and mental well-being.
It's pretty fascinating, right?
Yeah, this deep dive is already blowing my mind.
I know, right?
And we're just getting started.
We've got a lot more to unpack.
Let's talk about refined grains, white bread, white rice pasta.
Oh, yeah. Those are definitely worth discussing.
They're everywhere.
They are.
And ZOE had this great tip about swapping refined grains for whole grains.
Yeah, that's a great tip.
They said it can really make a difference in your blood sugar and how full you feel after a meal. But I'm curious, like, why are refined grains considered so bad? I mean, they're not exactly junk food.
No, but during processing, they're stripped of their outer layers.
Okay.
Which is where most of the fiber and nutrients are.
Okay.
So what's left is mostly just starch, which gets digested really quickly, leading to blood sugar spikes and those energy crashes you might be familiar with.
It's like a roller coaster ride for your blood sugar levels.
Pretty much, yeah.
No wonder you feel hungry again so quickly.
Exactly. And it's not just about feeling hungry.
Okay.
Those constant blood sugar swings can also increase your risk of insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, and even heart disease in the long run.
Okay, I'm definitely making the switch to whole grains.
It's a good move.
But even when you think you're making healthy choices, sometimes there are these sneaky sugars lurking in unexpected places.
Oh, yeah, totally.
It's like a sugar minefield out there.
It really is.
Bitterfly had this great example they mentioned that adding farsan,
Oh, yeah.
those crunchy Indian snacks,
Right?
to meals like poha can totally sabotage your weight loss efforts because it adds this hidden sugar bomb. Yes,
Exactly.
it's true. I love farsan, but I never realized how much sugar it adds to an otherwise healthy meal.
Yeah, it's easy to overlook those hidden sugar.
And don't even get me started on low-fat or fat-free foods.
Ugh, I know, right?
They often compensate for the lack of flavor by adding more sugar.
It's like a cruel trick.
It really is.
It's like they're playing with our taste buds and our waistlines at the same time.
So reading labels becomes even more important than I thought.
Oh, absolutely. Label reading is key.
But how do you navigate those ingredient lists when you're at the grocery store?
Right.
Sometimes it feels like you need a chemistry degree.
I hear you, but don't worry, there are some simple tricks you can use.
Okay.
For instance, did you know that ingredients are listed in descending order of quantity?
Oh, that's interesting. So the first few ingredients tell you the most about what the product is actually made of.
Exactly. And watch out for sugar hiding under different names.
Okay, like what?
Corn syrup, dextrose, fructose, anything ending in O's. Those are all just fancy ways of saying sugar.
Okay, I'm feeling empowered to tackle those labels now.
Good.
But what about alcohol? A glass of wine with dinner can't be that bad, right?
Well, moderate alcohol consumption might not be a deal breaker,
Okay,
but heavy drinking is definitely linked to weight gain, especially beer.
interesting.
And it's not just the calories in the alcohol itself,
Okay.
it's also how it affects our metabolism.
So it's like alcohol throws a wrench in our body's fat-burning machinery.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it can also lower our inhibitions,
Yo, yeah.
which can lead to making some not-so-healthy food choices.
Exactly. You know that late night pizza after a few drinks?
Oh, I know that feeling all too well.
We've all been there.
So it's not just about the calories in the alcohol itself, but also the potential for triggering those unhealthy cravings.
Exactly.
Okay, so alcohol is on the watch list for sure.
Definitely something to be mindful of.
What about those tempting indulgences like pizza, ice cream, chocolate?
Good stuff.
I'm already feeling a little guilty. Are you about to tell me I have to give up all my favorite treats?
Not at all.
Okay.
It's not about deprivation, it's about reframing our relationship with those foods. Instead, seeing them as everyday staples.
Right.
Think of them as occasional treats to be
Wow.
savored and enjoyed mindfully.
So like a reward for all the hard work we're putting into eating healthy and staying active.
Exactly. It's all about balance and finding a sustainable way of eating that nourishes both your body and your soul.
I love that.
Right.
Okay, well, I am definitely feeling a lot more mindful of my food choices already,
Good. That's what we like to hear.
but we've only just scratched the surface.
We've got a lot more to explore.
So stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive into foods that might be secretly sabotaging your weight loss goals.
We'll be right back after a short break. You know, it's amazing how much misinformation is out there about weight loss.
Yeah.
Like, we've all heard those myths about certain foods being like magical fat burners or quick fixes.
Right.
But the reality is it's more about understanding the science behind how our bodies actually process food and making sustainable choices that support our overall health.
I completely agree. It's easy to get caught up in all the fads and quick fixes.
Yeah.
But I'm all about like getting to the bottom of things.
Yeah.
Like finding like the evidence-based solutions.
Exactly. And that's what I love about these sources. They cut through the noise and give us solid insights
Yeah.
that are actually based on scientific research.
Well.
Like, remember how we were talking about fruit juice earlier? Well, Healthline actually compared the sugar content of some popular fruit juices to soda.
Really?
And guess what?
Okay.
Some juices had even more sugar than a can of cola.
No way. I always thought fruit juice was like a healthy choice,
Yeah.
especially for kids.
It's a common misconception.
Okay.
Like, yes, fruit juice does contain some vitamins and antioxidants, but it's also loaded with sugar. And without the fiber from the whole fruit,
Yeah.
that sugar hits your bloodstream way faster,
Okay.
leading to those energy spikes and crashes.
So it's like getting a concentrated dose of sugar
Yeah,
without the benefits of the fiber to slow down absorption.
exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
And speaking of hidden sugars,
Hmm?
very well,
Yeah.
Health pointed out that a lot of energy bars and granola bars,
Yeah.
which are often marketed as healthy snacks,
Right. They seem so healthy.
can actually be packed with sugar and unhealthy fats.
It's like they're disguised as health foods,
Right.
but they're actually sugar bombs in disguise.
Exactly. And it's not just the sugar content.
Okay.
These bars are often also low in protein and fiber, so
Wow.
they don't keep you feeling full for very long.
Right.
So you end up craving another snack soon after.
Which kind of defeats the purpose.
Exactly.
Okay. So I'm definitely going to be reading those labels more carefully from now on.
That's a good idea.
What about those seemingly harmless snacks like crackers or pretzels?
Well, it depends on the ingredients.
Okay.
ZOE really emphasized the importance of choosing whole grain options whenever possible.
Okay.
They found that even small swaps
It's like switching from white rice to brown rice or
Okay.
from white bread to whole wheat bread
yeah.
can make a measurable impact on blood sugar levels
Interesting.
and feelings of fullness.
So it's not just about avoiding certain foods altogether,
Right.
but also making smarter choices within those categories.
Exactly. And, Medical News Today had this fascinating segment on acrylamides.
Acrylo what?
Acrylamides.
Oh.
They're these compounds that form when starchy foods, like potatoes, are cooked at high temperatures.
Oh, okay.
And they've been linked to an increased risk of cancer.
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
Yeah. And they're commonly found in fried foods,
Okay.
especially French fries.
So that's another reason to limit those French fries.
Yeah, even if they're baked instead of fried. Because
Okay.
even those seemingly healthy veggie chips or baked potatoes can contain acrylamides
Got it.
if they're cooked at high temps.
I'm definitely taking notes.
Good. Now let's talk about alcohol. I remember one of our sources mentioned that the type of alcohol you drink can also make a difference.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Medical News Today highlighted some research
Okay.
suggesting that while heavy drinking is generally associated with weight gain,
Right.
moderate wine consumption might actually offer some heart health benefits.
Interesting.
But it's important to note that this doesn't mean you should start drinking wine if you don't already.
Right, of course.
It's not a green light to indulge,
Yeah.
but it is an interesting tidbit
Yeah.
about the potential nuances of different types of alcoholic beverages.
And speaking of nuances,
Yeah.
ZOE had this fascinating discussion about artificial sweeteners.
Oh, yeah. Those are tricky.
They pointed out that while these sweeteners are often marketed as this calorie-free alternative to sugar, they might actually alter your gut microbiome,
It's true.
which, as we discussed earlier, can have this ripple effect on your overall health.
Exactly. It's like a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
You think you're making a healthy choice by cutting out sugar,
Right.
but then you might be unknowingly disrupting the balance of your gut bacteria.
It's not just about the gut microbiome.
Right.
Some studies suggest that artificial sweeteners might actually increase cravings for sugary foods
Yeah.
and make it harder to control your appetite.
It's a complex topic for sure.
It really is.
More research is definitely needed,
Okay.
but it's something to be mindful of.
So even when choosing sweeteners, it's important to read labels, do your research, and listen to your body.
Absolutely. And, even natural sweeteners like honey or maple syrup, while they might offer some nutritional benefits,
Right.
are still concentrated sources of sugar
Okay.
and should be consumed in moderation.
It seems like moderation is a recurring theme here.
It really is.
It's not about depriving yourself.
Yeah,
It's about making conscious choices that support your health and well-being.
exactly. And that's such an important message, I think, for everyone listening.
Yeah.
It's not about perfection. They're following rigid rules.
Right.
It's about finding a way of eating that nourishes your body and brings you joy.
I love that.
And, speaking of sustainable,
Yeah.
one of our sources mentioned the importance of considering serving sizes.
Right. Portion control.
Exactly, even for healthy foods.
That's a good point.
Like Fitterfly pointed out that even healthy foods like nuts, seeds, avocados, olive oil,
Yeah.
while they're packed with nutrients and healthy fats, are also calorie dense.
Oh, that's true.
So it's important to be mindful of portions
Okay.
and not go overboard.
So even with healthy choices, it's all about balance and listening to your body's cues.
Exactly. I'm curious, is there anything from the articles that sparked a question for you?
I was intrigued by Very Well Health's mention of the connection between frequently eating fast food and having more belly fat.
Interesting.
Do you think that's because of the specific ingredients in fast food?
Oh.
Or is it more about the overall calorie density and lack of nutrients?
That's a great question. I'm not sure if the article has provided a definitive answer,
Okay.
but I'd imagine it's probably a combination of factors.
Yeah.
The high calorie content, unhealthy fats, and added sugars in fast food
Yeah.
definitely contribute to weight gain.
Mm-hmm.
And research does suggest that belly fat in particular is linked to a higher risk of certain health conditions.
Yeah.
But it's also worth noting that people who frequently eat fast food
Yeah.
may also have other lifestyle factors that contribute to weight gain,
Right.
like lack of exercise or poor sleep habits.
That's a good point. It's a reminder that weight management is complex. It's influenced by a variety of factors. It's not just about what we eat.
Right.
It's also about how we live.
Speaking of how we live,
Okay.
several of our sources touched upon the impact of stress on our eating habits and weight.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Have you ever noticed how stress can trigger those cravings for comfort foods?
Oh, absolutely. When I'm feeling stressed or overwhelmed, I definitely reach for the sugary treats or the salty snacks.
Yeah.
It's like my brain is searching for a quick dopamine hit to soothe those anxious feelings.
Exactly. And it's not just a matter of willpower.
Okay.
Stress actually triggers hormonal changes in our bodies that can increase our appetite
Okay.
and make us crave those high-calorie, high-fat foods.
So it's like a physiological response,
Yeah.
not just a psychological one.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. But if our bodies are wired to crave comfort foods during times of stress,
Right.
how do we break that cycle?
Well, that's where mindful eating comes in.
Okay.
Caroline had some great tips on how to become more aware of our eating habits and identify those emotional triggers
Yeah.
that drive us to make unhealthy choices.
Okay, I'm all ears. What are some of those mindful eating techniques?
Well, one simple but powerful technique is to pause before you eat
Okay.
and ask yourself, am I truly hungry or am I eating for another reason?
That's a good one.
It's about bringing awareness to those automatic behaviors
Yeah.
and making conscious choices about what we put into our bodies.
So it's about tuning into our body's signals and differentiating between physical hunger and emotional hunger.
Exactly. And another helpful tip is to pay attention to your senses while you're eating.
Oh,
Like slow down, savor each bite.
yeah.
Notice the flavors, the textures, the aromas of your food.
Hmm.
This can help you feel more satisfied and prevent overeating.
It's like turning a meal into a mindful experience
Yeah,
rather than just a mindless act of refueling.
exactly. And sometimes those cravings for comfort foods are actually a sign that we're not getting enough of something else in our lives.
Oh, interesting. Like what?
Maybe we're lacking connection, relaxation, or joy.
So instead of reaching for that bag of chips,
Yeah,
we might actually need a walk in nature or a good laugh with friends.
exactly. It's about addressing the root cause of those cravings
Right.
rather than just trying to suppress them.
That makes sense.
And sometimes it's about giving ourselves permission to indulge in those comfort foods occasionally,
Right.
but with awareness and intention rather than guilt or shame.
That's such a liberating perspective.
That really is.
It's about finding that balance
Yeah,
between nourishing our bodies and nourishing our souls.
absolutely. And this brings up an interesting point
Okay.
that wasn't explicitly mentioned in our sources,
Okay.
but it's closely related to the topic of emotional eating and weight loss.
I'm intrigued. What are you thinking?
Well, we've been talking about the foods to avoid,
Right.
but what about the thoughts and beliefs that might be sabotaging our efforts?
You mean like those negative self-talk patterns
Exactly.
that can creep in and make us feel like we're not good enough?
Yeah.
Or that we'll never reach our goals?
Those thoughts can be just as detrimental to our well-being as
Yeah.
those unhealthy food choices.
Okay.
They can create a sense of hopelessness and make us feel like it's not even worth trying.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right.
If we believe we're going to fail, we're more likely to give up
Yeah.
and make choices that reinforce those negative beliefs.
And it's not just about self-talk.
Okay.
It's also about the messages we've internalized from society,
Yeah.
about body image weight and what it means to be healthy.
It's like we're all bombarded with these unrealistic expectations.
Exactly.
And it can be so hard to break free from those societal norms.
It's a challenge for sure, but it's so important to challenge those norms
Yeah.
and create a more positive and empowering relationship with our bodies.
Regardless of our size or shape.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that our worth is not defined by the number on the scale
Right.
or by how closely we conform to those unrealistic beauty standards.
That's such a powerful message.
It really is.
It's about shifting our focus from external validation to internal acceptance and self-love.
Absolutely. And this is where those mindful eating techniques can be incredibly helpful.
Okay.
By becoming more aware of our thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations, we can start to identify those negative patterns
Yeah.
and replace them with more supportive and empowering beliefs.
It's like we're rewiring our brains for success,
Yeah,
both in terms of our eating habits and our overall well-being.
exactly. And sometimes those negative thoughts and beliefs are so deeply ingrained
Right.
that we need professional guidance to unravel them.
That's a good point.
Don't be afraid to reach out to a therapist or counselor
Okay.
who specializes in body image or disordered eating.
Mm.
They can provide valuable support and tools to help you create a more positive and loving relationship with yourself.
That's such great advice.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we don't have to go through this journey alone.
We don't.
There are amazing resources available
Yeah.
to help us navigate the complexities of emotional eating, body image, and weight loss.
And speaking of resources,
Yeah.
those sources we mentioned earlier, Healthline Medical News Today, Very Well, Health Fitterfly, and ZOE, they're all fantastic places to find evidence-based information, practical tips, and inspiring stories.
They're like trusted companions on this path
Exactly.
to a healthier and happier you.
Now, as we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
I want to shift our focus back to something
Mhm.
that wasn't explicitly mentioned in our sources,
Okay.
but I think it's incredibly important to consider when it comes to food choices and weight loss.
Okay. I'm all ears. What's on your mind?
Well, we've talked a lot about the individual foods to avoid,
Yeah.
but I think it's important to take a step back
Okay.
and look at the bigger picture of our food environment.
Okay.
You know, our food choices are constantly being influenced by external factors,
Right.
from marketing and advertising
Yeah.
to social norms and cultural traditions.
It's like we're swimming in a sea of food messages.
Exactly.
And it can be so hard to navigate those waters
Yeah.
and make choices that are truly aligned with our values and goals.
And, you know, sometimes those unhealthy food choices aren't simply a matter of personal responsibility or willpower.
Right.
They're also a reflection of the systems and structures that shape our food environment.
So it's like we're all players in a bigger game,
Right.
and the rules of the game are often stacked against us
Exactly.
when it comes to making healthy choices.
Think about it. Unhealthy processed foods are often cheaper and more readily available than fresh whole foods,
Yeah, that's true.
especially in low-income communities.
Right.
And those sugary drinks in fast food restaurants
Mm.
are often strategically placed in areas where people are most vulnerable to temptation,
Okay.
like near schools or workplaces.
It's like those unhealthy options are being pushed on us from all sides.
It's true.
So if our food environment is playing such a big role in our choices, what can we do about it?
Well, that's where advocacy and collective action come in.
Okay.
We can support policies that promote access to healthy, affordable food for everyone,
Yeah,
regardless of their income or zip code.
I like that.
We can advocate for stricter regulations on marketing and advertising of unhealthy foods,
Mhm.
especially to children.
Okay.
And we can create community gardens and food co-ops
Yeah,
to make fresh produce more readily available in our neighborhoods.
those are all fantastic ideas.
It's about taking a stand
Yeah.
and demanding a food system that prioritizes health and well-being over profit and convenience.
Right. Reclaiming our power as consumers and citizens
Exactly.
shape a food environment that supports our goals.
And you know, even small individual actions can make a difference.
Like what?
We can vote with our dollars
Okay.
by choosing to support businesses that align with our values.
Mm-hmm.
We can educate ourselves about the impact of our food choices
Right.
on our health and the environment. And we
Right.
can share this knowledge with our friends, families, and communities.
It's about creating a ripple effect of positive change. One healthy choice at a time.
And you know, sometimes the most powerful act of rebellion against an unhealthy food environment is simply to cook a meal from scratch, using fresh whole ingredients.
It's like a radical act of self-care and empowerment
Exactly.
in a world that's constantly trying to disconnect us
Yeah.
from the source of our sustenance.
Absolutely. And you know, as we wrap up this deep dive, I'd like to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Okay, I'm ready for it. What's that one final nugget of wisdom you'd like to impart?
It's this: be kind to yourself. This journey is not about perfection.
Oh.
It's about progress, not perfection. It's about learning to listen to your body, to honor your cravings,
Yeah.
and make choices that feel good for you,
Okay.
both physically and emotionally.
I love that it's about releasing the guilt and shame that often accompany food choices
Yeah.
and embracing a more compassionate and intuitive approach to eating and living.
Exactly. And, you know, sometimes the most profound changes come
Yeah.
not from restricting foods or following rigid rules,
Mhm.
but from cultivating a deeper sense of self-awareness and self-love.
That's such a beautiful and empowering message to end on.
It is.
It's a reminder that true health and well-being begin with honoring and nourishing ourselves from the inside out.
Absolutely. So, on that note of self-compassion and self-discovery, let's wrap up this part of our deep dive. We'll be back in just a moment to share some final thoughts and insights.
All right, so welcome back to our deep dive into these foods that you might want to avoid if you're trying to lose weight.
Yeah, we've covered a lot, haven't we?
We have, from sneaky sugar bombs to like the science behind liquid calories. It's amazing how much we think we know about nutrition, but there are always new things to learn.
Yeah, definitely.
This deep dive has given me a lot to think about for sure.
Me too. And, as we wrap up,
Yeah.
I'd like to shift our focus. This is something we haven't explicitly discussed yet,
Okay.
but it's very closely tied to everything we've talked about so far.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What is it?
Well, we've talked about specific foods to avoid
Right.
and the importance of mindful eating.
Yeah.
But what about the bigger picture, our relationship with food?
Okay.
I think that's where lasting change really happens.
You mean like going beyond just knowing what to eat and actually understanding why we eat what we eat?
Exactly. It's about exploring those deeper motivations and the emotional connections we have with food.
Okay.
Sometimes those cravings for the foods we're trying to avoid are a sign of something else going on.
Okay, like what do you mean?
Like, let's say you're reaching for a bag of chips every time you feel stressed.
Oh yeah, I do that.
It might be a signal to find healthier ways to manage that stress.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
It's about recognizing those patterns and asking yourself, what need am I trying to meet with this food?
Okay.
Maybe it's comfort connection,
Yeah.
a way to numb out difficult emotions.
So it's like food can become a coping mechanism.
It can, yeah.
And while there's nothing wrong with enjoying food and finding comfort in it sometimes,
Yeah, of course.
it's important to be aware of those deeper motivations.
Absolutely. And this is where those mindful eating techniques we talked about earlier can be so helpful.
Yeah.
It's about slowing down,
Okay.
paying attention to our body's signals, making conscious choices,
Yeah.
rather than just reacting automatically.
So instead of just grabbing whatever's convenient
Right.
or reaching for that comfort food without thinking,
Yeah.
we pause and ask ourselves,
Yeah.
what am I really hungry for?
Exactly.
What would truly nourish me in this moment?
I love that.
Yeah, it's powerful.
And sometimes the answer might be a warm bath,
Yeah.
a walk in nature,
Yeah.
a chat with a friend.
It's about recognizing that food is just one piece of the puzzle when it comes to well-being.
Exactly.
This is making me realize that weight loss is not just about the number on the scale.
Right.
It's about cultivating a healthy and balanced relationship with food and with ourselves.
I couldn't have said it better myself. And, something that really struck me from our sources was the emphasis on self-compassion throughout this journey.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Healthline especially had some great points about treating ourselves with kindness and understanding,
Right.
especially when we slip up or face challenges.
It's so important because, let's face it,
Yeah.
we all make mistakes.
We do.
We all have those moments of weakness.
Yeah.
It's part of being human.
Right.
The key is to not beat ourselves up about it
Yeah.
and to see those moments as opportunities for learning and growth.
So instead of falling into that cycle of guilt and shame,
Yeah,
we acknowledge those slip-ups with compassion
exactly.
and then recommit to our goals with renewed determination.
And remember those sources we mentioned.
Yeah.
They're packed with practical tips and strategies for navigating those challenges and staying on track.
They really are.
It's like having a cheerleader in your pocket,
I like that.
always there to offer support and encouragement.
Speaking of support,
Yeah.
don't forget the power of community.
Oh, that's huge.
Whether it's friends, family, online groups, finding people who share your goals and values can make a huge difference.
It's about creating a network of support and accountability.
Right.
Surrounding yourself with people who uplift and inspire you.
Yeah.
It can make this journey so much more enjoyable and sustainable.
It's like having a team of wellness warriors by your side,
Exactly.
cheering you on every step of the way.
And sometimes we need more than just cheers.
Right.
We might need expert guidance
Okay.
to help us navigate those deeper emotional and psychological factors
Yeah,
that are influencing our eating habits.
that makes sense.
Therapists, registered dietitians, certified health coaches can be so valuable.
Yeah.
They can provide personalized support and tools
Right.
to help us break those unhealthy patterns and create lasting change.
I completely agree. So as we wrap up this deep dive into foods to avoid for weight loss,
Yeah.
I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Myri, what is it?
Remember that your worth is not defined by your weight or by how closely you adhere to some arbitrary ideal.
Right.
Your body is amazing
It is.
and deserving of love and respect, regardless of its size or shape.
Absolutely.
That's such a powerful message to end on.
It is. It's a reminder to shift our focus
Yeah.
from external validation
Okay.
to internal acceptance and to celebrate the unique beauty and resilience of our bodies.
And as you continue on this journey of health and well-being,
Yeah.
remember to be kind to yourself. Be patient. Be persistent. Small, sustainable changes over time can lead to incredible transformations.
Absolutely. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
And every step you take towards nourishing your body and honoring your well-being is a victory worth celebrating.
I love that. So on that note of self-love and empowerment,
Yeah.
we'll wrap up this deep dive into foods to avoid for weight loss.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you've gained some valuable insights and feel inspired to continue on your journey to a healthier and happier you.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.
And remember, you're not alone in this. We're all in this together.